conference realignment is going to happen. It's going to happen. The question is, when and who will it affect the most? Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I do videos every single day. I've talked about this in the past, but I wanted to revisit it because of the new commissioner for the ACC. It really caught my attention what ESPN said he was thinking. And if you're a West Virginia fan, this could be the key for West Virginia's future as far as getting out of the Big 12 and into the ACC. Right now, the biggest thing is what? Money. Jim Phillips is the name West Virginia fans need to be thinking about right now. He's the new ACC commissioner, and he has some big plans for the ACC. He is very focused on the ACC's trajectory. People don't realize this. Right now, the ACC, not the Pac-12, not the Big 12, is the lowest revenue producing Power 5 conference right now. Jim Phillips wants to change that. He wants to get better TV deals for the ACC. He is extremely motivated and focused on doing that. He's already talking about expansion for the ACC. Think about it, expansion. It would be good for the ACC. He's also talking about locking in a long-term deal with Notre Dame. Not necessarily making them a full-time member of the ACC, but trying to lock in a long-time deal so that Notre Dame doesn't keep bouncing from affiliation to affiliation. That's getting to be irritating, to be honest with you. Make up your mind, Notre Dame. He doesn't like how the ACC schedules non-conference either. He wants to change that as well. And I didn't even think about this. He actually wants divisional realignment. Right now, there's two divisions. We all know that. In the Coastal, you have Virginia, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Miami, Pitt, Duke, and Georgia Tech. And then in the Atlantic, we have Clemson, Louisville, Florida State, Boston College, Wake Forest, Syracuse, and NC State. And I will admit it is tough to predict, how it would be perfectly equal, and you don't want one side to be better than the other side all the time. And it seems like the Atlantic is usually way better than the Coastal. But with the recent resurgence of North Carolina and Miami, it's kind of balancing out. It's just that Clemson is just that much better than everybody else. So I don't think he's necessarily trying to fix that problem. He's just trying to make it make more sense. Now, the current deals for the Power 5. For the Big 10 expires 2023. For the Pac-12, 2024. And for the Big 12, 2025. Expansion, realignment is coming. And the conference that could take the biggest hit is the Big 12. The conference that could benefit the most is the ACC. Right now is really when West Virginia needs to be paying attention to what's going on in the ACC. I know West Virginia fans are still upset because the ACC didn't want West Virginia back whenever the Big East was going under and West Virginia had to join the Big 12. Get over it. Stop holding grudges. You got to think about what's best for the university in the future, not we're still ticked off at the ACC because they pretty much trashed West Virginia and said West Virginia wasn't good enough for the ACC. Grow up, get over it. Whether you're holding a grudge or not, West Virginia does not belong in the Big 12. And the only thing that's holding them in the Big 12 is money. Once the ACC can lock in this new financial trajectory to where they're making good money and they want West Virginia in, West Virginia better go to the ACC like that. I don't care who you are. West Virginia in the Big 12 doesn't make sense. The Big 12 is a Midwest conference. West Virginia is near the East Coast. It doesn't make sense. If you look at all the conferences and where the members are, the one team that doesn't make sense the most is West Virginia. And don't get me wrong, I am thankful that West Virginia is in the Big 12. It kept us from going into oblivion, and we're making a ton of money. But change is coming. And West Virginia needs to be on the right side of change this time. And the great thing would be West Virginia getting into the ACC rivalries. We'd have Virginia Tech, Pitt, Syracuse, Miami, Boston College. All our old Big East rivalries are in the ACC. It makes too much sense. I'm really hoping that Jim Phillips is thinking about West Virginia right this second. The ACC needs West Virginia, and West Virginia needs the ACC. I mean, you look at basketball. I know ACC was historically down this year. I mean, it was crazy. If West Virginia would have been in the ACC, their stock in basketball would have been immediately higher. So, if you're a West Virginia fan, you need to be circling 2025, hoping that West Virginia finally gets into the conference that makes the most sense for West Virginia, and that is the ACC. Honestly, I think Notre Dame needs to make up its mind. Do you want to be a part of a conference or do you not? I think the ACC also needs to stand its ground and be like, Notre Dame, do you want in or do you want out? This affiliation crap is nonsense. It's stupid. The ACC could bring in West Virginia and Cincinnati. That would make way too much sense. But Notre Dame could stand in the way of the ACC being an outstanding conference. Another brand's awesome. One of the best brands in college football. I am not denying that. But the ACC needs to not let Notre Dame stand in the way of progress and the ACC being a top-tier conference. Because right now the ACC is just treading water and holding on to Clemson for dear life, because Clemson right now is the only team that's keeping this conference alive. North Carolina and Miami are up and coming. Don't get me wrong. They are getting really, really good. But the ACC has been depending on Clemson for the last decade. Just a few things to keep your eyes on for the next 3 or 4 years. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next show.